Hello, crypto boys and ghouls, and welcome back to the channel, Tales from the Cryptmancer, where we feature content on play and earn games on the blockchain, such as Splinterlands. And in today's video, I wanted to talk about a potential theory on what could be the surprise catalyst that pumps SPS 10x or more. And yeah, I mean, it could be interesting. I know if you listen to Aftersound, shout out to Aftersound and his live streams and his YouTube channel. Definitely check him out if you haven't done so already. But Aftersound talks a lot about potential catalysts in Splinterlands, the game, what could be coming with Conclave Arcana, what could be coming in the future roadmap, and what could be potential catalysts for SPS to move in a positive fashion for Splinterlands. And there probably isn't so much known at this point that could move that at this point, but I want to talk about a theory of one potential item that people aren't talking about so much right now that could be that surprise catalyst that indeed takes advantage of this Bitcoin pump and this Bitcoin kind of ushering in a bull market for crypto that could really see some benefits here, some green candles for Splinterlands and the SPS token. So let's talk a little bit about it. And again, for me, this is just all conjecture. It's just all hypothesis. I have no inside information. I haven't talked to the team at all. This is just my, I guess of what could happen here with this particular item in the Splinterlands roadmap. Let's talk about it. What is the item at the end of the day in the next, let's say, 2 to 3 months that could pump SPS 10x? Well, it is hardcore mode, right? And let's listen to a recent interview with Blaze KOS, a new team member to Splinterlands, talking about leaking a little bit of alpha on what hardcore mode is from a conceptual point of view. And this was on the People's Guild podcast here. Definitely check out Bjangles and Hep here on the People's Guild if you aren't doing that already. But let's hop into this clip really quickly.
Hardcore is survival mode. So survival mode is going to be the new gameplay. Just wanted to
Oh
say
shit,
that before.
Blaze. Well, there you go.
Nice.
Okay, let's put a pin in that one. I
No, Bjangles, we don't want to put a pin in that. We want to learn more. But we didn't get any more from Blaze on the People's Guild talking about hardcore mode. But I want to talk a little bit about what that could mean for Splinterlands and how I could envision it being rolled out. When Blaze dropped that hardcore mode was essentially our survival mode, or kind of like a roguelite maybe feel to Splinterlands. How could that translate into the current game? And how could it be done in such a fashion that it didn't really require much development work to make it happen? And it got me thinking on what that could look like and what it could do to the ultimate assets within Splinterlands, tokens, cards, rentals, all that stuff. And I thought about it for a couple minutes, and here's kind of my hypothesis. If hardcore mode is a survival game mode, right? Imagine taking just a simple concept of the ranked battle mode system and imagine it being opened up so you have unlimited ECR. Basically, you could run as many battles as you wanted to, with a twist though. The twist is anytime a unit or a monster within Splinterlands was killed in the battle, was removed from the battle at the end of the game results, that unit can no longer be used for a period of, let's say, 24 hours or whatever that day was for rewards for hardcore mode. That is interesting because that encourages deep collections with multiple max level cards or multiple high level cards that could be used. Because once, for example, if you had a tank like a Jin O'Shaughnessy up front in your water lineup and it got eliminated, well, now that Jin O'Shaughnessy can't be used for the rest of today's matches for the leaderboard rankings for hardcore mode. And, well, you're going to have to replace it with another tank if you want to run another water battle, or you might have to pull up, your second copy of Jin O'Shaughnessy. This is a very feasible way that hardcore mode could work within Splinterlands, simply basically having a 24-hour cooldown for the game mode anytime a card was defeated in battle. And that would hold true in theory for summoners as well. So let's say you bring Kelya to battle and you bring Jin O'Shaughnessy to that battle, and your entire team is wiped. Meaning you lost your O'Shaughnessy, you lost your Pellicore Bandit, you lost all your team. Well, now, because you lost that battle, you also lost your summoner for the day. So now you can no longer use Kelya from a summoner perspective, and now you're going to have to dig deep. Maybe you have to bring Ulrich. Maybe you have to, bring Lear or some other summoner that you have for water if you want to field water again in the next hardcore mode battle. Now, if we look at that from a development perspective, it's probably not a hard lift to just extend that into a new game mode. And we're going to talk a little bit about what that means to Splinterlands assets if such a mode was enacted. But before we go into what it could do for assets, I'd like to talk a little bit about why players would want to play hardcore mode, because obviously if you're buying cards to compete in hardcore mode, buying multiple copies of tanks or summoners as an example to compete here, there has to be a reason why you'd be doing that. If, for example, you were having to make a choice to pull cards off of land, your duplicate cards or your reward cards off land to be able to use those in hardcore mode, what would be the incentive to do so? Well, currently there's not an incentive unless they were to add something into the game. For example, like there's a store where you have, whether it's Glint or something else, where you could only buy certain cards, from currency earned in the hardcore mode. That would be exclusive items, which doesn't seem to be the way Splinterlands would go, because they already have a Glint store they just released. They don't have, the voucher store really pumping right now with lots of choices. So adding another store would just add more work and may not go off very well with the community. But what they could do is they could tap into their team reserve fund of SPS, right? This is the same fund where they dedicated soul keep rewards from. They could pull from that and say, for a period of, let's say, 2 years or 3 years or whatever, we're going to dedicate this amount of SPS to hardcore game mode, and it's going to be distributed daily. A set pool will be distributed daily to anyone who participates. What could that do depending on the size of that reward pool? Well, again, we'll have to talk a little bit about how this could work, but essentially you would have, similar to Soul Keep, a pool that could be earned daily, where if you only had a few people competing, the rewards could be quite high, but if you had a lot of people competing, that would get watered down, similar to the Wild League and Splinterlands. It would ultimately depend on how much SPS was allocated to this mode. But if we look at the bull run and what's coming, it might be a strategic play for Splinterlands to do this, because it would certainly pump asset prices at just the right time when the team needs funding, where the team needs green candles, and it could be a strategic decision to just go in and go heavy on those funds. Secondarily, the team could put a proposal out, a DAO proposal that said, hey, Splinterlands SPS DAO, you're sitting on a lot of Rebellion and Riftwatcher packs that are quite valuable to this community. Why don't you ante up some of those packs to be able to put into the hardcore mode prize pool for daily rewards to encourage people to play this mode, to invest in extra cards, to increase asset values? That could be something that also happens in parallel with this introduction of a new game mode. And I want to take a segue here, and I want to talk about what hardcore mode, if properly funded with SPS rewards and or pack rewards, could do to the assets in this game. One, it creates a choice, first of all, for people that have large collections that may be using that collection on land, to, again, have people potentially pull cards off of land to use them to play in hardcore mode. Having choices like that in this game, tough choices, where you have to either say, do I farm research tokens or SPS tokens or grain, or do I farm SPS in hardcore mode, ultimately creates an equilibrium in the rewards of the different game modes and puts more utility or more demand on assets in the game. And we know that we have more cards / assets than we have utility right now. So any game mode that does that is going to kind of alter the balance of that oversupply. And if you subscribe to my channel, you know that I like sinks and burns and use cases for game modes in games like Splinterlands, because ultimately, when you have an oversupply of assets like we do with cards, it increases the card value over time. Now, in addition to pulling cards off of land, it gives value to older cards that have been regulated to wild and botting to be played in this hardcore mode, because now you can double dip. You can play your wild league matches with your automation tool, for example, and you could play the hardcore mode with like a Kitty or a Jotun and win many battles potentially with that summoner before it gets knocked out, adding value to those cards. And going back to Untamed, for example, and maybe adding value to Untamed cards that currently is not in the marketplace priced in. Additionally, the pressure on having summoners, multiple summoners, would be key, because if you lose a battle with a summoner becomes a bottleneck on how many battles and how many points you could score in hardcore mode in a single 24-hour period for the leaderboard, as an example. This would put a lot of buy pressure in the market on summoners and drive demand for summoners, which hasn't existed since summoners were taken out of land as kind of a key component of land assets. Now, what I'll also say is it adds value to Chaos Legion packs. The reason why it does that is because it encourages people to buy cheap Chaos Legion packs to have, basically extra cards to run and to throw at these ranked battles or hardcore mode battles to continue to play in the game, whether it be summoners, whether it be monsters. The more cards you have, the longer you could play, the more points you could get, the more SPS or pack rewards you could get in hardcore mode. So people would start ripping these 2 million CL Chaos Legion packs that are in the ecosystem unopened and start, again, using those cards in a mode like hardcore mode, giving some utility and value back to those assets. Now, I will also say that hardcore mode, I believe, to be successful, and this is a very important point, that if it's envisioned that something like this mode comes into Splinterlands, I really feel that the team needs to put a hard stance to say that hardcore mode needs to be human play only, similar to the modern league. And you might be like, Tails, what are you talking about? Hardcore mode, like the wild battle league, needs to be automated with bot type programs, because I don't have time to run battles in hardcore mode with all these cards, and it's going to take a lot of battles to rank up and win awards. I just want to press the button, let it go. Well, here's the thing. Well, yes, in theory, automating hardcore mode and just letting your assets run wild, I guess pun intended, would be a nice thing for a DeFi perspective, just to farm rewards and ROI. The point of hardcore mode should be player engagement, right? So if you are a large whale in the game, pick any notable whales that have 10 million plus collection power, what have you. The challenge is by default, they could just turn on a program, hit hardcore mode, just like with land, and farm rewards, huge amounts of rewards day one, with no real effort or additional investment required. And that's good for the whales, but it's not good for a new player experience. The way hardcore mode should work is just similar to land choices, tough choices with land. Choices for whales should also be tough and not just a give me or a donation. So if you're a whale out there, like I said, pick any whale that you may know in the ecosystem. Now they have to choose. Do I split rewards with a scholar that plays my account manually in hardcore mode to get on the leaderboard and rank up? Or do I spend the time myself to earn those rewards because those rewards are valuable and worth my time? Whatever that decision is, just having the cards by themselves does not grant the rewards, right? Playing the game is the key concept that we want to have here for existing players and new players alike. You want people to play the game, fall in love with the cards, fall in love with the strategies and the metas and the abilities, and you want them playing the game. Because without the game, right, if it just becomes a DeFi platform where you press a button and let your assets mint SPS, that doesn't build stickiness. It doesn't build new players. It doesn't build an IP. It doesn't build lore attachments. It doesn't build game enthusiasm. It just becomes a farm. Like, it might as well be an idle clicker at that point. So I really strongly believe, just like modern, a choice needs to be made if you want to compete for hardcore rewards, hardcore game mode rewards, you need to play the game manually as a human, and it needs to be played in a fashion. It's a PvE type of mode, obviously. It doesn't require another player to be there. It's probably just pick teams from the other hardcore mode player teams that are used, right? It just gives you an automated team around your rank level that was used recently. It would be the way it would work more than likely. So it's a PvE type of mode, but it requires, at least from a the account owner or the person earning their points in hardcore mode, the manual play, right? And it should be enforced, right? Siler and the bot detection and anti-bot measures that are put in place, just like with modern, should enforce this for hardcore mode to make sure that the rewards are distributed to those players in the game that are not only investing in the assets of the game, but also playing the game, whether it's through scholars or themselves manually making the choice to play it because the rewards are valuable. And it's fine if the rewards are not valuable, and just like Soulkeep, people choose not to play it because of whatever reason, well, then those few that do play it manually will reap strong rewards, and that, is their benefit. The last thing I'll say about hardcore mode and this kind of guessing of what it could be, the other thing it can do for asset values is it can really soak up cards on the rental market for two reasons, right? The first reason is hardcore mode should allow you to either play with cards that you own or play with cards that you rent out or have delegated to you. All these cards should be eligible, and because of the lock periods on rentals and delegations, there should be no problems with multi-accounters moving cards around and basically gaming the system. What that does is it allows you as a player of hardcore mode to say, hey, I need to run some more battles. Let me quick go rent a summoner. Let me rent a team just for the day for hardcore mode, and let me see if I can get some more points. That encourages rentals in the rental market. It's going to cause rentals to go up in price and be in more demand. And coupled with the point that many people renting cards on the market right now may pull them off the market to then play them in hardcore mode to get those rewards, will at the same time increase demand in card rentals while also decreasing supply of cards on the rental market, which is a double boost for the rental market. Again, we go back to the point, game modes should make green candles and prices go up in assets in Splinterlands, and this could be a way that could happen. So this is just my quick short take, just kind of a brain dump on what I think hard mode could be, what it could look like. Again, I have no idea what it actually looks like, but this will be something that hopefully comes into play in Splinterlands very soon that could be a catalyst that pumps SPS and assets within Splinterlands to the moon. Let's see. Let's see what happens. I think this could be something that could be a surprise. That's not something people are banking on. I haven't done anything in the market, but if you think that this is something that could happen, you might be looking at Untamed cards, Summoners, Chaos Legion packs, and getting ready. Because if this is something that's coming, it could be exciting and it could cause some changes in values here. In either case, I hope this information has been beneficial. It's not information more than just me hypothesizing about what this could be, but in either case, if it has, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button. We'll see you next time. Remember, keep stacking those stats.